Hey guys, what's up? It's TCG Tri-Gamers, and today I'm going to bring you my Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck list from this past weekend. Was the Indianapolis Regionals. That was my first Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional actually, and I thought I did pretty well. Out of almost 300 people, I got 72nd place, and with a deck that's actually pretty rogue. It's the Trains deck, Choo, and I actually feel like this deck would have done a lot better if I would have sided better, if I would have put a little bit extra money into siding. But overall, as far as a rogue deck goes, this deck is very competitive. It threw a lot of people off, and it definitely has some things that are competitive. So starting out, we have 3 Flying Pegasus. This is your combo starter. Anytime you have something in the graveyard, when you normal or special it, you get to special it onto the field. Definitely a huge combo starter as far as that goes. Then we have 2 Ruffian Rail Cars. These are nice fodder to get the link out. This is really just good in the graveyard because it allows you at end phase to add a level 10 from your deck to hand. But other than that, it's kind of a dead card. You can burn turn 1, can't conduct your battle phase, but it's not normally used very much. Up next is 3 Night Express Knights. They are your level 10 normal summon, which you can piggyback other cards off of to get to your XCs very easily. One of those cards being the Super Express Bullet Train, which we're playing 2 of. This card says, if all of your monsters you control are Earth Machines, you special summon this from the hand. It does have an effect or it has a condition where you can't attack with it unless you destroy 2 other cards you control, but cards like Skill Drain negate that, and most times you're going into an XZ and using its in-phase effect to add back a card from the graveyard. Most of the time that one, because you'll continuously loop. You normal summon this, special summon it, use this second effect to make this a level 10 by targeting that. XZ, detach both materials one way or another so that during end phase you get to add this back and do it again next turn. After that, it's 3 heavy freight train dairy cranes. Super great removal. So this special summons from hand anytime a Earth Machine is normal or special summoned, and its attack and defense become halved. And then when it's detached as an XZ material and it's in the graveyard, you choose a card on the field and destroy it. And I forgot to mention, this is a level 10, and you're probably wondering, why is that a normal summon? Its condition is you can normal summon this without tributing, but its attack and defense become 0. So you're not using it to attack with, you're using it for its level 10. Up next, ignore the card. It was actually 3 Ash Blossoms. That's what these 3 down here are for the side deck. I had a buddy of mine lend me 3 Ashes because, the commons are coming out this week. And I told him if I had to buy them off him, I would, but I'd prefer to just borrow them. So these 3 Ogres actually go in the side deck. But these were Ashes, so imagine these are Ashes. But that's it for the main core. And then we have some kind of oddball cards that really were only for specific uses. I had Exodius. It's a level 10 that you special summon by... You have to shuffle all your monsters back into the deck, but even on turn 1, if you use a link and you only have 1 or 2 monsters, you can use Exodius. And then Glow Up Bulb, that's for Nat Beast. That's it. That's for Nat Beast. So that's as far as the monsters. This deck is not huge on the monsters. I mean, it has its core combo pieces, but it's not like 30 monsters and 10 back row. It's pretty well proportioned. Excuse me. Up next is the new spell from the legendary duelist Sisters of the Rose, Urgent Schedule. This card is pretty broken, and what made it so good at the weekend is a lot of people didn't know to ash it. You'll see as I'm going through my spells, there's 3 things you can ash, and most times I had at least 2 things in my hand, so whichever one I wanted to go off, I would use that one first, bait the ash, and get the other one off. This says if your opponent controls more monsters than you, special summon a level 4 and a level 10 in defense, negate their effects. But it's a quick play, so you can do it on your opponent's turn. So if you go first, you can do all you can do and then set this, and you may have an XZ out. Set this, then oh, you're gonna attack with 3 people. Hold on, urgent schedule. Up next is 2 Pot of Desires, another thing that can be ashed. This is just a good way to thin through your deck. We all know what Desires do; they're really good. It's not that groundbreaking. Very good. Only 2. In rare cases, you might actually go through both of them. After that, the third thing that can be ashed is Revolving Switchyard. This is the field spell. 2 effects. One of them, the first one, which is mostly only good for when you are going first, says when you normal or special summon a level 10 Earth Machine monster, you can special summon a level 4 from your deck, and it becomes a level 10. So you'd normally use this if you're going first. You'd normal the Express Knight, get this, it's now a level 10, and then you can do your XZs. And if there was something in your graveyard from like a Foolish Burial, you can use that. Up next are my protection cards, because being XZs, everybody just wants to use effects to get rid of them, because quite literally they're too big to swing over. 90% of the time, Boral Sword's one of the only things that can swing over. Magical Midbreaker Field. Simple as that. Can't target. Yes, it's a 1 of now. I'm actually running, for my next card, 2 Terraforming. Right, so originally this deck list had 3 of these, 2 of these. Well, I took 1 out and put this in because sometimes against certain decks like Sky Striker, this just was too good. It was too good to make it, because you really don't need to target them. Yeah, your Dairy Crane targets, but you can still target their back row. This was just fantastic against Sky Strikers. Up next is my next protection. This came out in Savage Strike. It's Time Thief Hack. There's a lot of text there. Half of it's for the Time Thief archetype, but the top half is a generic XZ Protect. It says the turn that they're summoned, XZ monsters can't be targeted by your opponent's card or card effects. Targeted or destroyed by. Up next is the OTK card, Limiter Removal. So when we go to the extra deck, there's a card that can get up to 6,000 attack. You drop this, it's 12k. It's busted. 1 Foolish Burial, that's for your Glow Up Bulb or your Pegasus. If you draw this in Pegasus, and you're like, well, I don't have a graveyard, you Foolish Burial one of your level 10s, and then normal that and special it back. 3 Called By, because I don't care how much YouTubers want to say, shout out to House of Champs, hand traps are still scary. I don't care if the meta's not playing them as much as they think they should. Called By the Grave, because very realistically, I've used this on just random duplicate monsters that were in the grave. It actually won me a game where somebody had a duplicate of a card that they had on the field. I don't remember what it was, but it had a negate and destroy effect. And so, beginning of the turn, Called By, targeted that card. Now that card doesn't have its effects for the rest of the turn. 2 new cards from Savage Strike also, Witch's Strike. These were mained for the tournament because I was expecting a lot of Subterra Guru and Altergeist. Realistically, though, they're probably a side card. But if you're going to a big tournament where you're expecting Altergeist, Subterra Guru, in this deck, they don't hurt to be here. Because you're going to see, I'm going to have 2 more traps. It doesn't hurt. If you set that, even if you set all your traps, you're at 4 cards. So you'll be completely fine with those there. And then 2 Floodgates, Imperial Order, which is for Sky Strikers, and Thunder Dragons, and other decks probably, and Skill Drain. Skill Drain, you go first, get out a big boy, drop Skill Drain on their turn, and now they just have to swing over for 4k with most situations. And that's it for the main deck, guys. It's very simple. A lot of these cards are super cheap. I think the most expensive card in the main deck is probably the Urgent Schedules. I mean, Ashes used to be, but now it's the Urgent Schedules at 15. It's really super cheap deck. Going into the extra deck now, we run 2 Clyfort Geniuses. This is really good against link heavy decks. It has a condition that says it's unaffected by back row cards, Sky Striker, and it's bigger than most Sky Strikers, and other link monsters. So This is a great Link Karibo removal. If you link into this and you attack with Link Karibo, they can't target it to make your attack 0, because they can't target it. Phoenix, because I used to not run it, and then I kept running into decks where I wish I had a Link 2 to pop stuff. Now I do. Summon Sorceress. This is for when you draw really, really good, and instead of having 3 monsters on the board and an XZ monster, you bring out Summon Source, and then you have Summon Source and 2 XZ monsters. Happened one time during the tournament where I got a God Hand, and he scooped. Up next is 2 Gustav Maxes. This used to be at 1, because you almost never stay at Gustav Max. You just use... So its effect is you detach 1, burn for 2k. Super good. But very rarely... Most of the time you'd use the other XC to go on top of it, because it's bigger, and you'd leave it at that. So once this went to the grave, it was gone. But there were so many games where if I had just 1 more to burn for that smidge more damage, I would have won. So I put a second one in there before the tournament. This came out with Legendary Duelist, Sister of the Rose. It's Juggernaut. I'm not going to pronounce the whole name. It's Super Dreadnought, blah, 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 Juggernaut. This is the one that limiter removal is really just busted on. So this has an effect. You detach a material, it gains 2,000 attack and defense. And then the top half says, hey, you can XZ directly onto Gustav, pretty much. It's a level 10 Earth Machine. You can just XZ right on top of it. So then you detach, and it's a 6k, and then once you do that effect, it says this card can attack monsters. You can't attack this many times, sadly. Monsters up to the materials this card has, +1. So if you have 1 material, you get to attack 2 monsters. I was very sad to find out that you don't get 2 attacks, because that'd be broken. Next is 2 Doras. Great turn 1 card if you don't think they can really get over much. You detach to make it unaffected for the turn. Pretty standard. I didn't actually go into it very much because I was going into this next set most of the time. Spider-Boy 35, Spider-Boy 84, and Spider-Boy 77. These guys were my Thunder Dragon matchup. Mostly 7 cents. So these have an effect that, hey, 2 level 10 monsters. Oh, you have that out, you can XZ this on top. Oh, you have that out, you can XZ this on top. This one says once per turn, not the turn that you use the effect. Once per turn, detach 2, banish all special summon monsters your opponent controls, Thunder Dragons. And then its secondary effect is if this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, attach a material and protect it, Thunder Dragon Titan effect. Up next is Sky Palace Gang. I'm not going to pronounce all of that. Sky Palace Gang. Detach 1, burn for 1,000, and destroy a card. So you can combo this up if they have 2 annoying cards. Combo this up with Dairy Crane. So then you get to burn for 1,000, pop and pop. And then Nat Beast. Because I had mentioned Nat Beast before. And so nothing in here is super expensive. The Summon Source has been reprinted. Nightmare Phoenix is pretty cheap. The spiders probably were the most expensive part of that. And now we're going to go into the side deck. Alright, so we have 2 Dino Wrestler Pankatrops, because every side deck has 2 Dino Wrestler Pankatrops. 3 Twin Twisters. That's for Sky Strikers and other annoying... these were great against There Can Only Be Ones. I will say that's the one thing that hurts this deck a lot, is There Can Only Be One, and you'll see that I have stuff against that. Twin Twisters is one of them, and the next one was Red Reboot. Right? 3 Red Reboot, 3 Twin Twisters, because if they get a There Can Only Be One out, you're not dead, but you're hurting. And then 2 Rivalry and 2 Gozen, because this deck's great because except for the spiders and very few Link monsters, 95% of this deck's Earth Machine. So you can easily go, I'm going to play Gozen and Rivalry, and then you tell your opponent, don't mind me while I play normally, you just suffer through it. And then on top of that, I had 3 Ghost Ogres, which is what these are. These are the 3 Ghost Ogres that are now mained in my deck because I had to give the ashes back till Friday when they get the actual ashes. Those were for Sky Strikers multi-roll. And then if I felt like I needed them for a specific matchup, if I had a card that, you know, was being annoying, but it was a continuous, Ultrageist Protocol was kind of good for that. But anyway, guys, that is the deck. Like I said, I went 72nd out of like 300. First time at my regionals. And if you notice, I don't have any Droll locks in here. I probably would have done better if I had Droll locks in here against the Dangers, because Dangers were everywhere. But it did fairly well. It did very well. I was very pleased with myself. And yeah, if you build this deck, let me know how you do with it. Let me know if you have any ideas for tweaks. I actually already have ideas for tweaks, but I kept it built like it was so I could do the deck as it was when I played it. But yeah, let me know, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please leave a like and a subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one. Later. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. And a big shout out to our sponsors, Bosco's and Gamer and Geeks. They're one-stop shop for TCG needs. Their links are going to be down in the description for their websites and their YouTube channels if they have them. And as far as content goes, this is just the beginning, starting out with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And here soon, Dragon Ball Super will be coming right back, so don't you worry. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.